Did I scare ya? Well, actually, I'm not that sorry, 'cause that's the whole point of today. Today is Halloween! Happy Halloween, everybody! I'm pretty excited today. Well, not only because I get to wear this cool costume. I am a ghoul, by the way. A spooky, scary ghoul. Be afraid. But not only do I get to wear this costume, Pyra's given me permission to read one of her stories for you all. So that's what we're going to be doing for this video. Now, I may have mentioned who Pyra is just a couple times on this channel. But in case you guys can't remember, or you didn't care to learn it in the first place, Pyra is my creator, my best friend, and my partner. And she's also a magnificent author who's published in a couple of short stories. Now, okay, I have the book in my hands. I'm just going to flip to the page we need. You guys can't see it, it's off screen, but I do have it. Now, the story isn't exactly a Halloween story per se, but it does have a somewhat creepy ending, which made me decide, out of all the stories Pyra's written, this one would be the one to do for Halloween. It follows our main character, a boy named Nathan Young, who, well, some strange things happen, and it leads him to learning that his best friend has some secrets. I don't know. It's hard to talk about his story without giving spoilers. But basically, Nathan Young, he's a photographer, and then he ends up learning some secrets from his best friend. Okay, so I'm just gonna get started. The Continued Journal by Pyra Kane. Licks of flame rolled over my thighs, reducing the flesh to piles of ash. Okay, maybe not in the literal sense, but it was about as accurate a description as the exhaustion deserved. As far as I knew, no one else in my work field would go to the extent I did for a photo. Crouching within a thorny, leafless hedge in the middle of an icy snowfield just wasn't something they did. But when presented with a great opportunity, I simply couldn't resist. Not even as my legs cramped, nor as strain-induced droplets froze to my temples. I swore nothing, not even the world's end, would remove me from the spot. I held the camera up to the right lens of my glasses, trying to resist the urge to swat at the brains describing my jacket. As far as hiding places went, this was the best I was going to get. The woods were comprised only of thin pines, and while they were great for framing the shot and filling the empty background, they were certainly less than ideal for remaining unseen. I adjusted the lens and zoomed in, so my subject was up front and center. Well, almost center. The doe was a few steps shy of where I needed her. She held her head low in curiosity, edging toward what was possibly the year's last flower. I waited with bated breath while my legs screamed at me to retire my current position. A desperate whine built in my throat. I bit my lip to keep it from escaping. Nothing would ruin this shot. She moved another step forward. Her hoof sunk into the snow. I readied my finger over the capture button. Just one more step. Click! The shutter clicked. My heart skipped a beat at the sharp snap, as if the camera had taken that responsibility for me. The doe's head shot up and she bounded away in typical deer fashion, but my eyes were entranced by the scene on the camera screen. The golden glow of evening light glittered in the garden of icicles, painting the doe's brown fur a sweet shade of honey. Poised so delicately, she gave off a regal air. My heart rose in my chest. She was like a physical embodiment of nature itself. The corners of my lips pulled up in satisfaction. I shifted my weight onto the balls of my feet and rose to a stand. Or so I thought. It took a moment for me to realize I was still crouched, staring at my camera. My muscles hadn't moved one bit, seemingly locked in this position. It was like some force held me there, crushing me under the weight of its hand. My chest went numb. If my eyes could have widened further, they would have. Something sped by in the corner of my view. My heart flinched. Panic put all of my willpower into moving my gaze, but it was stuck fast to the image in my hands. I could only watch through my peripheral vision, though I swore, if my eyes weren't deceiving me, the terrain had been altered. The snow was still a pearly white, but something about it was different, like a stripe-shaped section of it had had its texture removed. No longer freshly untouched, the snow there looked as if someone had taken a brush and painted right over it, as if I was just part of a painting the artist had decided to change. Never had I wanted so badly to furrow my brow, to shake my head, clench my eyes shut, and wake up at home. It had to have been a dream. There was no way this was real. 2 more sped by, followed by a 4th. They painted over some of the trees on my right. Sections of trunk just gone. Dream. It had to be a dream. It was a dream. I tried pushing against whatever hold was on me. Like if I struggled enough, the glue would unstick, or I'd wake up. Neither happened. They increased in number, one after another, until an entire wall of speeding paint dashes formed in front of me, erasing the beautiful scene I'd recorded to memory only moments before. The flower, the hedge, the snow and trees, they ceased to exist, just like that, gone. My eyes stung with frozen tears, clogging my tear ducts. I didn't know what I feared. Nothing happening was real. But a part of me couldn't shake the thought. If the paint could so easily delete a whole forest, what would become of me? Would I be erased too? I didn't want that. The dashes stopped, as if they'd erased themselves. They left me frozen, staring at a no longer existing scene on a camera in the middle of a white void. Talk about rude. I tried again to move. Not even a finger twitched. The prospect of being stuck here forever, or for the remainder of this dream, was just starting to chip at my mind when a pencil appeared out of thin air. It clattered onto the non-existent ground and rolled to a stop at my feet. Eyes still glued to the camera, I watched through the bottom of my view as the pencil rose into the air. It tapped its lead against my head twice, then proceeded to draw the shape of a house. It drew dark logs into the exterior, fractured windows with unpleasant stains, new trees around a clearing. All the while, a sense of familiarity flooded through my veins. I knew this house. The pencil finished, shading in a new blanket of snow, then disappeared. The drawing of Adonis's mansion flashed to life, becoming a physical plane around me. Flakes fluttered from the sky, and branches rustled. Heavy breaths filled my lungs. My eyes darted from one spot to another. Nothing missing, nothing erased. The image of Adonis's house was so whole and perfect, it was like nothing strange had happened at all. Except the hedge I'd been using wasn't anywhere near Adonis's place. That was a fact. I shot to my feet a little too quickly. My balance wavered, and I stumbled, gripping my camera hard to avoid dropping it. Maybe I should have been more cautious, but I didn't want to be out here if the dashes appeared again. Dream or not, they were terrifying. I bolted for the front door, tripping over my feet a few times in the process. The porch was icy under my boots. Faint piano music became audible as I stepped up to the door. Normally I would have stopped to listen, but I wasted no time in rapping my fist as hard as I could until my knuckles were white. The music stopped. A few beats later, the door opened to a face I hadn't seen in a few months. Adonis's eyebrows raised high over his closed eyes. "Nathan, what are you doing out here?" I glanced over my shoulder just to make sure nothing had erased. Can I come in?" The words were weak and wheezy. Adonis pushed the door open further and stood aside to let me through. The foyer was dusty enough to give the picture of health and asthma problem, but it was warm and safe from those things. At least I hoped so. "It's been a while since you've been back," Adonis said as his mischievous smile poked into the corner of my view. It was the kind of smile mothers told their kids not to be friends with, but they did anyway because they pitied that one lonely kid who had no friends. The foundation of our friendship was built from that smile, that and the negative feelings he tried but failed to hide. Seeing the rosy tint in his cheeks eased my nerves and pulled at the corner of my lips. "I was just playing a tune," Adonis said as he walked past me to the grand piano. He gently caressed its black exterior, then rubbed his fingers against his pants. Dust. I furrowed my brow at his clothes. "In your pajamas?" "Dust in my pajamas?" "Nady, I don't know if you noticed, but there's dust everywhere. My house is the breeding ground of dust." I narrowed my eyes as he snickered. "You know that's not what I meant." He waved it off, his lips scrunched with suppressed laughter. I had made my way to one of his velvet sofas and went to sit, but his hands grabbed my butt and hauled me over his shoulder. "What? Adonis, what are you doing?" I clutched my glasses to keep them from falling. His arm wrapped securely over my back and held me in place, leaving me stuck with a less than pleasurable view of his behind. My face went aflame. Nady just came from outside. The vibrations from his voice surged against my skin. "He's got to be an ice cube by now. Let Adonis treat him like the princess he is, just this once." His feet began moving beneath my head. I wanted to ask what he meant by that, where we were going, and why he suddenly started speaking in the third person. But I was too busy trying to keep my eyes from wandering. I focused on his lower back as he paused to open a door, then continued walking. I read that sentence. I was about to read the same sentence again. I recognized the hall from the long red rug. A flash of excitement snapped my head to the left, where a series of my previous photos were framed on the wall, arranged in a single row. "You'll have to hang your new one later." My eyes shifted in the direction of his voice. "How did you know about that?" Adonis chuckled. "You always come home with one. It's like a guaranteed addition to the wall." We entered a small living room. Adonis plopped me onto the sofa. His smile told me he was very pleased with himself. "Enjoy the ride?" I crossed my arms and tried to look annoyed, but my warm cheeks probably told a different story. "A different view would have been nice." Adonis clamped a hand over his mouth to keep from laughing. I guess I was lucky he wasn't drinking anything just now. That would have been a definite spit take for sure. He waved it off again. Sorry about that." "Okay, I'm actually not sorry at all. Apologies are just polite." I scoffed. "Gee, thanks." "You're welcome." Adonis readjusted his beanie, pulling it almost as low as his eyes. "So what can I get for my Princess Nady?" "Please don't call me that." He pouted. "Aw, but you are my princess." I shook my head. He sighed. "Okay, what can I get for my cherished little firefly?" "That's not really any better, but—" Oh! Adonis jumped up and down like a giddy child. "I know, you were cold earlier. I even commented on it. I'll bring you something to warm you up." "No, that's okay." He bolted from the room before I could finish my sentence. I sighed and slumped back into the cushions, my eyebrows scrunched in frustration. The day Adonis listened to me was the day Snake sprouted wings and learned to fly. The fireplace in the wall agreed with the crackle, casting a warm glow over the darkening room. The house was almost silent, save for the ticking of a clock and the faint noise of Adonis shouting a cuss word. I watched the dancing flames until my eyelids began to droop. They slid shut and didn't want to open again. too heavy, like someone had strapped barbells to them. Thick darkness welcomed me with open arms. Every muscle of my body relaxed. That was all it took for my consciousness to slip. A faint orange light played over my eyelids. I didn't know what time it was. They were still heavy from sleep, but I managed to pry them open. The room was enveloped in a near pitch black, with the fire putting forth its best effort to keep the corners illuminated. The flames were almost dead, but kept going. Good work, fire. I stirred and shifted to wake my body, knocking the blanket from my shoulders. The blanket I was certain wasn't here before. Adonis must have left it. In addition to the blanket, there was now a mug of hot chocolate sitting on the end table alongside my camera. I crawled to the other side of the sofa and grabbed the mug. The glass was cold under my fingers, the opposite of what I'd hoped for. Even so, to show my appreciation, I took a couple deep swigs. Chilled, but sweet cocoa filled my mouth. There was an extra sugary flavor, suggesting the drink had housed a marshmallow at one point. When I drained the cup to less than half, I returned it to the table. The clock still ticked from its unseen perch, disturbing the silence at 1-second intervals. I'd half expected to wake up to Adonis's arms hooked around my waist, with his face buried in my hip or something. But he wasn't in the room. Not that I could see, anyway. "Adonis?" I called out. The only reply I got was a soft thumping from the second floor. I held stare with the ceiling as the noise came overhead, paused, then went off in the opposite direction. Knowing Adonis, I couldn't tell if that was coincidental or if he was trying to relay a message of some kind. Either way, I pulled the blanket tight around my shoulders and hauled myself from the sofa. The corridor we'd previously come through gave a different impression at night. Dark, narrow, and scary. The doors on the other end were completely obscured by a veil of thick shadows. I felt if I tripped at any point on my way through, I'd tumble into the mouth of the void, forever lost. My feet were anchors on the carpet, but I forced them forward, one step at a time, until I came to the strangely placed grand staircase halfway in. I'd always wondered whose brilliant idea it was to slap one of these here instead of in the foyer, but I suppose they added to the charm. The house was strange like Adonis, a perfect match. Each step creaked under my weight as I ascended. The lights at the top of the stairs were dim, but strong enough to see where I was going. Neglecting to climb the final few steps, I rested my hand on the banister as I peered into the next corridor. The first few doors were all this vantage point could afford before the path veered right. Whatever lay beyond, only a journey forward would reveal. What lay in the depths of Adonis' house? Nothing I didn't know because I'd been there countless times before. Or so I thought. But upon making that journey forward, I came to a door I didn't remember seeing. It was covered with chains and yellow caution tape, like the bedroom of a rebellious teen character. My head tilted to the side as I eyed the door up and down. It was obvious Adonis didn't want anyone to enter this room, whatever it was. But the question was, what did he have to hide, besides the door itself? Seriously, how had he gotten this past me? The thing stood out like a shark with zebra stripes. My fingers inched their way to the cold surface of the knob and grasped it, turning slowly. I swallowed as it came to a full stop. One push, and the door swung open. My muscles tensed. I half expected to see a surprised Adonis, angry with me for ignoring his blatant warnings. But what I saw was honestly, and I never thought I'd say this, stranger than Adonis. From floor to ceiling, the walls were covered, absolutely blanketed, in pictures of me and him together. Not a hint of actual wall in sight. The only break in the photo blanket was the small mirror in the back. If that wasn't enough, in the middle of the room sat the centerpiece of the fray, a life-size statue of me, gathering dust. My head cocked even further. Holding stare with a stone impersonation of myself, I stepped into the room and closed the door behind me. Its face was a permanent fix of wide-eyed horror, like it'd just seen the stuff of nightmares. What the heck did Adonis need something like this for? Why did he have it made in such a strange way? I pursed my lips. That's when a splotch of browns at the statue... A splotch of brown, not browns, just brown. When a splotch of brown at the statue's feet caught my attention. A worn leather notebook. I raised my eyebrows as I knelt to pick it up. An unusual circular pattern decorated the tear-stained cover, like something out of a fantasy novel, alongside a title, The Continue Journal. I didn't think I'd ever seen this book. Curiosity overtook my hand and I flipped to the first page. Adonis's handwriting was scribbled over the lines. I miss him, 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 I miss him. A whole paragraph of just I miss him. I blinked, my brain robbed of thought. The entire page was the same line over and over. No mention of who this person was, why he wasn't around anymore, just that Adonis missed him. With a tight-knitted brow, I slowly turned to the next page. 2018, September 24th. So, this journal, I found it in a box of old things at the back of a cupboard. I don't know where nor how I acquired it, but what a stroke of luck. The book doesn't really have anything to do with him, but when I look at it and feel the leather under my skin, somehow I can't help but remember. I know, saying that makes it sound like his death was years ago, but since my eyes have finally outlived their dream of becoming a waterfall, this book feels like a fresh start. I'm not much of a writer, but I'll keep it around. Maybe I'll find a use for it. 2018, November 2nd. Been a while since I've visited these pages. I haven't decided what I'm going to use this book for yet, but at the rate I'm going, it'll end up as a diary. But that feels a little dull. That idea, it just doesn't sit with me. No, that idea walked into the room and screeched at the sight of me, then bolted for the ends of Tartarus. This book feels special, so I want a special purpose for it. The intersecting circles on the cover always bring his face to mind. I wonder why. 2018, December 1st. Well, slice my head off and call me a donut. I finally got it. The perfect idea. It's, damn it, brain, you forgot. What the Tartarus is wrong with you? Guess I'll go with the second most perfect idea. To preserve his memory within these pages. I don't know why it didn't cross my mind sooner. Better yet, I could make more memories with him. New memories in the form of stories. It's a feat of pure brilliance. I'll begin writing them on the next page. I can't wait to see you again, my beloved. Licks of flame rolled over my thighs, reducing the flesh to piles of ash. Okay, maybe not in the literal sense, but that was about as accurate a description as the exhaustion deserved. It's the opening lines again. The book slipped from my fingers, landing at my feet with a thunk. My hands didn't move, frozen in midair as I stared at the empty space between my fingers. That was exactly how I described the exhaustion from my crouch overtaking my legs. Word for word, the same phrases. And they were in Adonis's book. As if my neck had rusted, my head moved in shaky starts and stops, inching my gaze toward the book on the floor. The Continue Journal. The title stared me in the face, taunting. I swallowed. With shaky hands, I slowly knelt to pick it up. The leather felt like a curse against my skin, but I flipped to the next page over. The snow was still a pearly white, but something about it was different, like a striped-shaped section. That's a bit of a tongue twister. Of it had its texture removed. No longer freshly untouched, the snow there looked as if someone taken a brush and painted right over it. As if I was a part of a painting the artist had decided to change. The page crumpled under my tightened grasp. My blood trained to my feet. I thought I knew what the diary meant, but looks like someone saw something he wasn't supposed to. My whole body held its breath. Footsteps came closer from behind. His arm appeared over my shoulder and took the book from my hands. I couldn't move. I didn't want to turn around and face him. Was he angry? What if he was angry? My brain halted idea production. I didn't know what to do. Pages rustled. Adonis mumbled something, then spoke with an even voice. Is this really how far you got? Not even to our current sentences. Man, you are a slow reader, Nady. I didn't move. It took me a moment to realize I'd stopped breathing. My lungs were on the verge of begging for air. So, do you get it? Or do I have to spell it out for you? Gulping a quick mouthful of air, I managed to regain control of my muscles. My still-busted neck inched my gaze upwards and froze. All that control went out the window. It was mostly hidden behind the statue's torso, but over its shoulder, a glimpse of the mirror was visible. Reflected in its glass was Adonis, but his beanie was off, and in the place of hair, the snakes let out. Oh, sorry, not let out. I have the book right in front of me. I keep reading these lines wrong. Try that again. The snakes let loose an aggressive hiss. Adonis tapped the head of one. Now, Cheryl, language. That's Nady you're talking about. Snakes. The word flowed from my mouth without my consent. Adonis's reflection smirked, placing its hands on its hips. You like them? Never mind that. When I couldn't find you downstairs, I figured you'd probably be here. I need to learn to hide things better. Yeah, you do, Adonis. I mean, you made that door plain as day. And now you're upset that Nathan found it. You're not the smartest character, are you? Oh, but I shouldn't say that. I'm one of Pyra's characters, so I personally know Adonis. He's not dumb. Okay. Back to the story. Sorry for stopping. Where was I? His reflection moved closer to what I could see of mine, and his arms wrapped around my chest. Fear gripped my muscles. Oh, I said fears with an S again. I couldn't move. Cool scales wrapped around my throat. A soft hiss came from below my chin. This one's mine. Jaws off, find your own human. Hiss. Oh, you can't because you're attached to my head? That's too bad. Adonis's giggle rumbled against my shoulder. I tried to swallow. My throat constricted, choking on my own spit. I'm going to assume you understand and will fill in the blanks of that book. Just for you. And the readers. Readers? My lungs squeezed the word out. Certainly, he held the Continue Journal in front of my eyes. The Continue Journal? His finger trailed along the bottom of the cover as more words appeared under his touch. By Adonis J. Quanis. My goal is to publish this story and have your memory continue in the minds of others. Imagine it. Thousands of people who know your name. You'll live forever. The book disappeared. He grasped my chin and forced me to look up at the statue. The inspiration for the story, however, your death, was an accident. Brief explanation. Never date an over-emotional Gorgon who forgets about his eyes when he goes in for a kiss. Adonis's grip tightened, digging his nails into my skin. I want to ruin the mood of this scene if I keep making mistakes. But you weren't supposed to learn my secrets. Not even the original Nathan knew what I was. He saw my eyes, but became as you see now, super quickly. Before the realization sank in, I'm sure. He paused, took a single breath. You weren't supposed to leave the couch until morning, yet you came looking for me. This must be what the other writers were talking about when they said their characters had minds of their own. The realization tried to sink in, but confusion clouded my brain. I could barely think, let alone understand the nonsense pouring from Adonis's mouth. Could he seriously be suggesting I wasn't real? Sure, the continued journal had today down to the last detail, but this was just too impossible for me to believe. Adonis coughed. Oh, and since you were wondering, I might as well tell you. That deleted scene was simply a transition. Me bringing you to a desired location. It took quite a bit of effort to get it right. My eyes became wider than saucers. That was you? But since your little discovery wasn't what I wanted with my story, I see no point in continuing. So let's wrap things up. He pulled me until my heels left the floor, and I stumbled into him. Reinforcing his grip around my waist and jaw, Adonis forced my gaze toward his red cheeks. I had only enough time to scrunch my brow before he crushed his lips to mine. Chills shot down my spine. My entire body churned. I screamed, but with his hot, wet sliminess trying to swallow my mouth, it sounded more like... I struggled against his hold, but his arms didn't budge. He was like a stubborn child who found his favorite candy. Me. Nady. My ears perked up. His lips never left mine, but I heard his voice loud and clear. Yup, I was crazy, but not crazy enough to predict what happened next. His eyes, the eyes that had always been closed, almost like they were sewn shut with an invisible thread, peeled open. The crimson irises and white pupils that rolled down from his eyelids were anything but human. A flash of hot pain streaked through my nerves. Instantly my muscles stiffened. I tried to move away, but my arms and legs were rocks. Literally. I could see the skin becoming gray in my peripheral vision. Panic bubbled in my chest. My eyes darted between his, pleading, searching for any shred of mercy. But the only emotion was passion. His decision was made. There was no changing it. The edges of my vision faded to black, slowly overtaking the picture. At the last minute, Adonis pulled away. His smirking lips twisted and writhed, forming the last words I heard before everything went dark. I love you. And that's the end of it. Man, that was hard on my throat to read all of that. I don't actually feel the best today. I'm kinda ill, so I really did try my best to sound my usual perkiness. But man, that story! You get to the end to find out Nathan was a fragment of Adonis's imagination the whole time. And the original Nathan died when Adonis went in for a kiss. It's a really interesting premise. And I'll let you guys in on a secret. Pyra actually told me this story was insanely difficult for her to write. It just took a lot of time. And she had to try over and over. Honestly, she still wonders about its quality sometimes. So I guess if you guys liked it, then maybe let her know in the comments. Like, leave a comment and I'll show her all of what you guys have to say. I can't speak now. I keep stumbling over my words. Okay, but leave a comment and let us know what you think. I'll be sure to let Pyra know what all you said. Maybe then she won't feel so bad about it anymore. Well, that's assuming you guys have good things to say about it. But she did try out really hard in that story, so I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know I did, even if I made a couple of mistakes here and there. But you guys know I make mistakes. I am not good at reading stuff out loud. I never have. I probably never will be. But anyway, I should probably end this video before my throat gives out. Ugh. So anyway, if you enjoyed this video as much as I did, then why not leave a like and definitely subscribe so you won't miss the next video. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next time. I can't speak. I'm just gonna stop before I make another error. Bye bye.